The Reese Senior Bowl is the biggest event of the NFL draft cycle. It is a great resource and tool for college prospects to help elevate their stock. And this year, underclassmen are going to be eligible for the Reese Senior Bowl, which means it's going to be chock full of talent, literally talent galore. And we're going to discuss some of the prospects that'll be heading to Mobile today. And we're going to start with the quarterbacks because, well, only two have accepted invites thus far, with the first being Spencer Rattler coming out of South Carolina, coming in at 6'1", 217, and had an okay year. It wasn't ideal. This year was supposed to be the year he really showed that, he could work inside a structure, and he doesn't always have to make the big throw. He's willing to check down and settle. Because some of the biggest knocks on Spencer Rattler coming into this year was, his want and need to have to work outside of structure and throw off platform and not really settle for the checkdowns. Unfortunately, his offensive line was, kind of piss poor. South Carolina overall wasn't that good of a team this year as they finished 5-7 and weren't even bowl eligible. But you can't really hang that on Spencer Rattler, who honestly did the best that he could. And I mean, you did see areas of improvement for Spencer Rattler as the adjusted completion percentage for him, which takes away drops, throwaways, spikes, was still relatively high over the last couple of years. It's hovered around that 80%, which is really, really good. But still, the turnover worthy play rate was about the same as his big time play rate, as this year he was having to settle down or settle for some of those checkdowns, or maybe his like second or third reads, just because he was just so often having to being forced off his first read, and the pressure was just so immense. But this is a cat that has the arm talent. That's why he's still got a day 2 grade. I'm kind of curious how he will do in like interviews and such, because you're not familiar with Spencer Rattler's history. It's a wee bit rocky. It goes back to, when he was on QB1 in high school, where be frank, he seemed like a douche. He really, really did. And he goes to Oklahoma, and in his final year there at Oklahoma, he entered the year as a starter, but would be benched in the Texas game, and where Caleb Williams would take over, lead the team to the win, and Spencer Rattler would leave the field while his team was celebrating. Rattler wouldn't start the rest of the season there for Oklahoma and decide to transfer at the end of the year. I think a lot of his maturity issues, though, are a thing of a past, because, I know South Carolina wasn't good this year, but Shane Beamer is a really good coach there at South Carolina, and he's going to make sure his players fall in line. And I feel like, again, depending on how he interviews and whatnot, I feel like Spencer Rattler probably turned over a new leaf. So this really does make him a very viable day 2 quarterback, because arm talent isn't a question with him. The other quarterback who did accept their invite to the Senior Bowl was Michael Pratt out of Tulane. Now, Tulane, another team that didn't exactly have an ideal season. They finished, 11-2, made the American Conference Championship game and fell short to SMU and their backup quarterback. Where how you're saying backup quarterbacks can't have important wins, so Florida State can't make the playoff, but not going to open up that can of worms. But Michael Pratt coming in here at 6'3", 220 pounds, and still a relatively solid season. I just don't think it was anything special. It was weird. Tulane, I thought, were much more talented than a lot of the teams they faced, yet they constantly played to their opponent's level and had a lot more closer games than they probably really should. On top of that, Michael Pratt was a little banged up this season. I believe it was a knee injury with him. But in terms of the prospect, the type of guy you get in here is a guy with good size and a solid arm. Not an elite arm, but solid. He throws with decent enough zip. He can he's got good touch passes. He can throw all levels of the field, very quick release, and honestly processes the field relatively well. However, this season, I felt like like some of his throws really, really varied. I don't know if it was like some inconsistent with just with his feet being stable, like again, like lower body mechanics and whatnot. But it just seemed either maybe the anticipation wasn't there, or he was just putting the wrong type of touch or velocity on the ball. It just seemed like things were out of cycle. Is that a word? Is that a phrase I'm looking for? Out of sync. Let's go with that. Themes felt out of sync. So Michael Pratt, a guy that's coming from, let's be honest, not top tier competition, but biggest win of his career came against USC last season in the bowl game, is going to get a great opportunity to really prove himself at Mobile this season. And I look very much forward to it, especially if we have some guys drop out of this quarterback class, because we've already had a ton. So maybe guys like Carson Beck, JJ McCarthy, maybe even a Caleb Williams, though I highly doubt it. Those guys drop up. That's just going to elevate Pratt's stock. He's also a plus athlete, can get it on the feet with his feet, but someone who's more so going to use his feet to extend the play than actually make plays with his feet. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. I want to jump to the wide receivers, and I want to talk about Devontez Walker. Tez Walker out of North Carolina. Coming in at 6'2", 200 pounds. Wasn't sure this cat was even going to play this season. Because, we could go over the background real quick with him. He was a former 3-star recruit out of the 2020 class. Played basketball, also did track and field in high school. And he ends up going to North Carolina Central. But he didn't play the season there because they canceled it because of the Rona. So he decided to transfer because he was like, hey, I want to play ball. So he ends up transferring to Kent State, where in 2021, he played in 8 games, mainly just a reserve, but became the starter in 2022 and was a first-team All-Mid-American Conference. Him and Dante Cephas were just cleaning up there for Kent State. And then he was like, okay, you know what? I want to really test. I want to really show what I can do at a Power 5 school. So he ends up going to North Carolina. However, the NCAA deemed he was not eligible to play because it was technically his second transfer, even though he did not play down for North Carolina Central because of the Rona. They didn't like that as an excuse. They were like, no, you're still not eligible to play. This was like a constant battle between with like Mac Brown came out just bashing the NCAA, and eventually they let him be eligible to play as of week 6 going against Syracuse. So you're looking at stats, be like, okay, they're not that big. Well, this cat only played in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So this was all through 8 games, having almost 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. So that's a very, very impressive number. Now with the prospect, you're getting someone who has really good straight line speed. He is very much a bigger vertical threat. If you go back to his 2022 against Kent State, he had 8 TDs that were on 20 plus yard or more catches. He was clocked at 23 miles an hour on a screen versus Georgia back when this was again 2022, where Georgia had that scare against Kent State. It was kind of wild, but he was clocked in at 23 miles an hour. This is a cat that's got a good first step and he gets going in a hurry. However, he's not like the twitchiest athlete. He's not the most sudden athlete. So he might be more restricted to like, okay, he's maybe more of a possession receiver who can tear the top off of the defense occasionally. Because also like he's very much not really a crazy 50-50 ball guy. Like the contested catches, I think they were better this season. I think he was at 50%, 58%. So they're a lot better this year. So he was better at the contested catch, but still you see quite a few drops in his tape. He had a 10% drop rate this season. He also had a 10% drop rate last season. So his hands are not always the most consistent. However, man, you see his ability to go up and make the catch at the 50-50 ball. He did it more consistently this season. He's a very good run blocker at that size, very technically sound. It was something he had to do at Kent State a ton. So you like that. And a man that can eat contact just because of his frame. His frame allows him to do so. He had 12 forced missed tackles back in 2022, only 2 this season, but he was also just kind of like scorching the defense deep this past year. Like if you look, he had what? He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, close to 8 receptions for 20 plus yards. So yeah, man, this guy was eating this past season, and someone I don't feel like I've talked about at great length. I've talked about at parts during the season, but I really wanted to highlight him here real quick. And then I want to move to Xavier Legette because I absolutely love Xavier Legette. At the end of the video, we'll kind of go through the whole current accepted invites and kind of discuss a few of them. But man, Xavier Legette's kind of been my dude. If you remember, if you are not new to the channel, we did the North Carolina, South Carolina watch along. It was the season opener, and I was so excited to see Juice. Oh man, now I can't remember his name. Oh no, Juice Wells. There we go. For South Carolina, but he was dealing with an ankle injury during the offseason, and he re-aggravated that ankle. I was like, no, this is the cat I really wanted to see. And then I was like, wait, who is this man among boys? Because he's kind of that, coming in at 6'3", 227 pounds. Like, and he was just yamming, like just the strongest hands in the world, bodying individuals, making big plays. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's got some speed to him too. This is ridiculous. I got to go check this guy out after this game. And to my surprise, he had no real production going into this season. And I mean, to go over that real quick, I mean, for the most part, he was just kind of buried on the depth chart, but he was a reserve in 2019 and 2020. He missed time with several injuries that year. In 2021, he played in 11 games with 4 starts, but he missed 2 games as he recovered from a motorcycle accident. And he even returned early and played as he recovered, but was limited. And he was like playing with an open wound that they had wrapped up. Kind of wild. And then in 2022, he did make 7 starts, but he was just buried behind that depth chart. If you remember, it had Juice Wells, and it also had, oh no, I think it's Jalen Brooks, who ended up going to the Cowboys, I believe. But he was able to have kind of a breakout game in the Gator Bowl against Notre Dame in 2022, where he had 7 receptions, 78 yards, and 2 touchdowns. However, prior to this season, he did not have a year over 167 receiving yards. That's right, a whole season. This man never eclipsed 200 receiving yards in any given season. And then he said, yeah, I'm going to clear 200 yards, but tack on another 1,000 to that. He was an unbelievable monster. Sure hands as well, man. Only a 2% drop rate. He had a 50% contested catch rate, going 10 of 20 on contested catch opportunities, 9 forced missed tackles, just because, again, like, he's not going to do anything fancy. He's either going to run right by you or he's going to run right through you because he's got some meat to him, but he's got legit speed too. It's just, he's a crazy combination of speed, size, length, and physicality. It's insane. Huge catch radius, and honestly, he's a better route runner than you would expect. Like, he's put it all together. That's why I got a first round grade on this cat. Now, again, not the most creative after the catch, not like the smoothest mover, but for his size, he's exceptionally smooth, just not like the quickest. And you're not going to expect that from him. He's very much someone who, if you get him in a straight line, then he's going to beat you in a foot race. But yeah, he's probably been the biggest, the hottest riser among this receiving group. He really has had an outstanding season. Let's move to the hog mollies. Let's talk offensive line with Dominick Puni. Puni. I think it's Puni. Coming out of Kansas, he played left tackle almost like strictly this season, but he's going to be projected, at least by most people, as a guard at the next level. And he's coming in at 6'5", 320 pounds. He was a 0-star recruit, by the way. Kind of wild. And he actually played 4 years at Central Mizzou before deciding to head to Kansas in 2022. Now, through most of his career, he's played guard. He's played left tackle. I think his freshman year at Central Mizzou, he played even on the right side. So this is someone who you're gonna look at and be like, okay, cool. He's got experience on both sides of the line, and he has experience at both tackle and at guard. So very nice. And he's got really good size, and he's a very good mover, man. I love his ability as a pooler, and he displays very good lateral quicks. Overall, the footwork is very, very nice. Presents a wide base. He's very smooth in his kick slide, and when he drops back into pass protection, in all honesty, a very, very good pass protector, and someone who's still kind of putting it together as a run blocker. But you saw a positive progression this season from last season as being a run blocker, because he's someone who once he locks horns with you, he will keep moving his legs. And I am suckers for athletes who just keep churning their legs through contact. I absolutely love that. Now, has played most of his career at tackle, even dating back to Central Missouri. However, he does struggle to kind of block out in space, and I think that's why he'll largely be viewed as a guard. It's just like his hand usage just isn't consistent when working out in space or working on the move. He can attack wide and can just see, I could just see holding calls in his future at that point. Anchor has been inconsistent. And I think a lot of that stems from he just plays kind of tall, and I think he's flexible enough. He just needs to sink better, get lower, stay lower out of his stance. Don't let defenders get that established leverage under your pads and just put you on ice skates. So all in all, man, I actually really enjoyed my watch of him, and I got him as a 5th rounder. But let's talk about Patrick Paul. I know he's a hot name around the draft circuit, the draft cycle. Just not a hot name to me. I'm not the biggest mark for Patrick Paul, and I get why people like him. Don't get me wrong, I really, really, really do get why people just absolutely love him. He's got great length. He presents a very good wide base. He plays with that nasty. He's a very good athlete, and he's just been dominant at Houston the last 3 seasons, and he's probably one of the best pass blockers in this class. Only allowed 7 pressures this season, and to be fair, a lot of his pressures came against now Big 10 or Big 12 teams. And to be fair, he held up really nicely, like games against Texas, Kansas, Oklahoma State. He had some losses there, but all in all, man, I thought he played relatively well. I just do think I think he's just, from a technique standpoint, he's kind of all over the place. I really, really do. Just the hand placement, the hand usage is just, to me, it's not that good. And he's also someone who's going to suffer consistently from just not getting it low enough. He coming in, again, what is he, 6'7", 315. He's going to suffer from the tall tackle problem where you're going to struggle to get low, or at least low enough to get leverage on defenders. So I got him as a midday 2. So it's like, I just don't see him as first round compared to a lot of people right now, but a lot of that can change based on what he does in Mobile. So I had to put him on this list, talk a little bit about him. Right now, he's tackle 9 for me, which still is pretty darn good, but compared to some other people's rankings, might not be all that good. But we got to move to the defense. We got to move to the defense. And we're actually going to linebacker because I feel like this linebacker class is a bit all over the place. But I just looked at this cat's name and I was like, okay, let's go watch him. But it's Marist Liufau out of Notre Dame. And I've actually watched quite a bit of Notre Dame this season, whether it was like Cam Hart, you got, was it Xavier Watt, you got Riley Mills, who I'm a big mark for, as well as Howard Cross. Benjamin Morris is there, who's not eligible this year, but he's going to probably be a top pick next year's class. They just got a ton of talent on that defense, and he's among some of the best talent they got there. Coming in at 6'2", 239 pounds, and he became the starter last season for the Fighting Irish, where he started all 13 games. I think he was technically supposed to be the starter in 2021, but he missed the entire season with a broken ankle, unfortunately. But he has been a legit menace the last 2 years. Like Liufau has a very nice compact build. Like coming in at 6'2", 239, very compact build, which it's wild because I think he showed up about 185. So this is a cat that has put on a lot of muscle because it's not fat. Like you look at this guy, he's like lean and just jacked. He's put on a lot of muscle since arriving here in South Bend. It's literally like, and he loves that physical nature of play. Packs a lot of power in his hands. He matches that power with just great intensity, like a very, very aggressive player. It just makes, he's violent when in engagement or like how he block sheds. Just the hands are super violent. And this really shows up as a pass rusher. Has 26 pressures, 5 sacks. Pretty darn good numbers. He just shows good anticipation as a pass rusher and just really good patience as a blitzer. He's at his best working downhill, and the movement skills are pretty darn nice. It's just with him, why I have him in the 4th right now. Yeah, he has the athleticism to be a game changer in coverage. It's just he hasn't been used. Like what Notre Dame's asking him to do in coverage is not that hard. He's working downhill. He's playing the flats or like quickly manning up with maybe someone coming out of the backfield. They're whatever it is, they're having him work downhill. So like they're very much protecting him schematically in coverage, and to where you don't see a ton of splash plays. Matter of fact, they don't even throw his way most times. Also, because of his aggressive nature, it leads to just a lot of missed tackles where he just either won't like tackle from a stable base, just throw his body around, or just won't finish like wrapping up. It's just a 19% missed tackle rate's really high. You don't want to be in that 18 to 20%. Typically, that's like just a big red, like not tackling so well. But we'll see him at Mobile in a linebacker class that is just begging for someone, for players to emerge here. And just kind of like, okay, who's going to be linebacker 1? Could it be you? Could it be you? We're going to talk about some other linebackers a little later in the video. But let's move and shift to the defensive line with Darius Robinson out of Mizzou. Mizzou's got a few players that are going to be there in Mobile on the defense that I'm very excited for. But Darius Robinson coming in at 6'5", 296, but he played a majority of the time this season like outside of the tackle at edge. And he has just showing, hey, I am a very, very versatile player. Like I think he might be a prime candidate to play kind of like a 3-4N 5-tech role. But he plays with such a good motor. Honestly, you could probably put him at base 4-3N or kick him inside, and I'd feel all right with him. He's tall, but he just manages to get leverage. He uses long arms and active hands. Just it makes him super formidable, and he's probably going to be a fast riser for a lot of people. Like he's probably going to be maybe with a good showing at Mobile, easily in the day 2 area, maybe even sniffs around that top 50. Like, his tools are that in Tyson, and this season he did such a good job. Like, block shedding was kind of one of his struggles, and now that he moved outside, it was like, oh, no problem, I got this, too easy. I think he also did a really good job of not working himself out of the play, and showed that he can be more disruptive against the run this season. 25 defensive stops. All that means are plays that result in 0 to negative yards. He's done a really good job. So watch out for him being a potential hot riser during that week in Mobile. But I want to stay along the defensive line. I'm going to talk about Marshawn Kneeland out of Western Michigan, coming in at 6'3", 175. Real quick, interesting background with him. Former 2-star recruit from the 2019 class. Played linebacker and tight end in high school. Also participated in track and field. He was a regional champion in the 400 meter and the high jump. So that's kind of ridiculous. Comes to Western Michigan. Really didn't become the full-time starter until 2020. So like literally a year after redshirting. They were like, oh, you're too good to start. You're too good to like just keep in the rotation. Nah, we're going to get you on the field as much as possible. And this season he was supposed to be at Colorado. Like, he was going to move over there with Dion and them, but because Western Michigan had a new hire at head coach, but they got together and he decided, you know what? This is the place I want to be. And then he ends up having just a phenomenal season where he has 37 pressures, 6 sacks, best season of his whole collegiate career. And now he's going to head to Mobile with very interesting size. Like, the first thing that sticks out is how strong he is. Like, okay, at 275, you better be stupid strong. And fun fact, he is stupid strong. He loves winning by manhandling and overwhelming blockers physically. Like, he just loves that whole you're like, the minute you're in my hands, you're at my whim. Like, I love that. Just some of the strongest hands you will see in this class. He's very effective at keeping blockers' hands out of his pads, so his hands are very active during reps. Very, very solid first step, and he does a good job of turning speed into power. Plays with a great motor, and has been a very good run defender the last couple of seasons. And he's done a great job of setting the edge or redirecting linemen upon engagement. Just someone who has good size and won't be scheme dependent. He just has that positional versatility to him. Now, not the quickest, not the most flexible guy, but at his weight, I still think it's pretty darn good. I want to see him work with like maybe more counters and secondary moves. Sometimes it feels like if a blocker can slow down his first initial rush, which it's usually power, he relies heavily on power, then it feels like Kneeland is usually like dead in the play for sometimes. And I'm gonna be honest, I won't ask him to put on more weight to play inside. I think he is very much someone that I want either over top of the tackle or playing outside of the tackle. Like, he's got good power, but I don't think it's good enough to play on the inside full time. So I don't know, man. He might end up being a prospect that just some DCs will look at and not really know what to do with, similar to like Carl Brooks. But a lot with Carl Brooks was just a very, very bad showing at his pro day or combine. I can't remember which it was. But the final prospect on this list I'm going to talk about before we just talk about everyone as a group is the corner out of Louisville, Quincy Riley, coming in at 6', 185. And I do have him as a day 3 prospect, which, hey, man, in a corner class this good, there ain't no shame in it. Because I think he can be a really, really solid prospect. I think coming in, he was initially a 3-star recruit from the 2018 class, and he's someone that has legitimate track speed. Goes to Middle Tennessee, where he becomes a starter in 2020 and just had really, really good seasons for the Blue Raiders before deciding to head to Louisville in 2022. And had a great, like, he like, when given starting opportunities, he is kind of shut down. Like, if you look the last 3 seasons, with one being at Middle Tennessee and the last 2 being at Louisville, he has allowed completion rates of 58.6, 2022, 45.5, and then this year, 37.5. That's a ludicrous number. That's like elite. So I knew immediately I had to watch this cat. And he's someone who's shown ball skills, 12 interceptions over his career, 9 pass breakups. Like, the penalties aren't too outrageous. So I was like, okay, man, let's check out his film. See what is there to like about him. And first and foremost, he's an off-ball corner. He's an off-coverage corner. Like, I don't think he's got the physicality to play, like, in press. And he's someone that's better working downhill, especially against the run game. Like, there are times you just don't see him consistently shedding blocks or making tackles. So I feel like he's not, like, teams that want press corners, they're not going to look his way. Bigger receivers do give him problems during the route and around the line of scrimmage. So, like, I mean, if he can put on more strength, put on more bulk, that could go a long way. And he's just not someone who is going to lay hands on a receiver. Like, he really relies on how good of an athlete he is to get back in the play. And he really chooses to run with receivers than, sticking that hand in the hip pocket and trying to make the receiver slower. However, I mean, this is a cat with really good route recognition, really good short area quicks. Does a great job coming downhill, making plays along the boundary. He brings a little kick return experience back from his high school days, and I think 1 year there at Middle Tennessee. And just a very good athlete, a very smooth athlete, and I think he could maybe make some good money there at Mobile. Listen, I know you love the NFL draft as much as I do, and you're going to want a nice hefty watch list of players during this college football season. Well, go ahead, check out my draft guide. You can purchase it for only $30 by Venmoing or PayPaling me. Links in the description. It's a one-time payment, and you get it for this whole draft cycle and forever and always. Technically, it's a Google spreadsheet, so send me your email when you send the payment. I'll get you hooked up. You will see my current prospect rankings and big board, my full evals, and guess what? It updates throughout the whole draft cycle. So it's a great purchase, and it's a great way to support the channel. But let's go over everyone who has accepted a Senior Bowl invite. Doesn't necessarily mean that they will be there. They could end up opting out, but so far these are the names that have accepted it. You got Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo, who's been a hot rising prospect. Josh Proctor, older guy, but really strung together a very strong year this past season at Ohio State. Max Melton wasn't exactly an ideal year for him, so he's another guy that's probably in that day 3 mix. Malik Mustafa, he's going to be very interesting. Compact, really good athlete though, and in a safety class that kind of needs guys to kind of step up. Khalil Carson, a lot of people talk about how Keon Coleman kind of took him to the shed. I mean, there were some wins, some losses, but this is going to be a good chance for him to kind of recover some of his draft stock maybe that he's lost as of late. It's just not been an ideal year for Carson. Ennis Rakestraw Jr. and Chris Abrams-Strain, these 2 Mizzou corners, man, watch out. Rakestraw has the size, but golly, I love me some Chris Abrams-Strain. You got Bo Braid coming out of Maryland. He feels like more of an early day 3 safety, but he's relatively solid. Talked about Quincy Riley. You got Cam Hart, great size. Jalen Simpson, I'm kind of curious because he's either like your center fielder or he's a off coverage probably zone heavy corner. He's just someone that just doesn't make plays against the run, and he just kind of lacks physicality. You got DJ James, you got Nehemiah Pritchett, 2 undersized Auburn corners. This is going to be big for them. Josh Newton. You got Jahdae Barron, the slot corner out of Texas. Willie Drew, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get Virginia State tape. So, quite frankly, Senior Bowl might be the only time I actually get to see him and maybe throw an eval on him. You got Shaw Smith Wade, another undersized corner there at Washington State. You got Ruka Rororo, Tyler Davis. Adisa Isaac was someone I really thought about talking about on this list, but he had a phenomenal year at Penn State as well. A little undersized, but it's not like terrible. Byron Murphy gets overshadowed by his other Texas teammate, but he's hella good. Dwayne Carter, kind of a down year. Don't think he's got the play strength maybe for the NFL. But Keith Randolph accepted an invite. Brandon Fisk was someone we talked about, I think, last week. Latu, Nelson Caesar, their Sweat. Looking at the linebackers, Eichenberg, Gray, big fans of these guys. They're probably more third rounders. Peyton Wilson, biggest thing with him is injury concern, or else he'd be probably linebacker 1 in this class. There'd be a great case for him with that. Tyron Hopper, I'm kind of intrigued in, but I feel like he's a little undersized. I think it's Jalix Hunter. I don't know. Another cat that I'm probably not going to be able to get film on. Houston Christian. I don't know. I'll try, but looking at the offense, Grant Barton, Dominick Puni, got Cooper Beebe. Isaiah Adams, oh golly, he can recover so much of his draft stock this season just because they were playing him at right tackle. This is a guard. He is a guard. And they were just playing him out of place, and he was getting just demolished, unfortunately. Javion Cohen, Christian Haynes, I think is going to make a ton of money. I'm a big fan of Jordan Morgan. Layden Robinson, a guy with a lot of talent, just the production's not there for him. Brandon Coleman, I'm kind of curious where they'll play him at the Senior Bowl. He's played tackle quite a bit. I can't remember if he played. I think he mainly played tackle this year, but someone who might end up being a guard. There's Patrick Paul, Christian Jones. I know Texas fans aren't going to like this, but he felt very mid, very average to me when I watched his film. Like not like the most athletic guy, but also it's not like he's just this battleship that's slow going, but stupid powerful. Like he feels like a mid to late day 3 pick. You got Limau. Oh man, I don't have the pronunciation in front of me, but this cat, his play. I was just talking about how Christian Jones has really good play strength. It's literally reversed. Really good athlete, not great play strength. You got Fatanu. Zach Frazier's not going to be playing because I think he broke his leg or something. I don't know, maybe ankle. I mean, you could go back on Twitter, X, whatever the heck you want to call it, and you will literally see him bear crawling to the sideline so his team wouldn't have to use a timeout. Wild. That's legitimately some, oh no, I'm forgetting my boy's name out of USC. USC, oh, Voorhees. Legit Voorhees vibes, if you don't remember. Voorhees was a tackle/guard at USC who I think tore his ACL in drills at the combine, but he came back the next day to do the bench press. Ridiculous. You got some kickers, punters here. I already talked about the 2 quarterbacks. Running backs, only 2 thus far. You got Marshawn Lloyd and Dylan LeBeau. I don't know how to say it, out of New Hampshire. Can be interested if I could probably only find highlights on this cat, but I don't know. We'll see. The tight end class, I don't know if any of these guys are really going to stick out. Maybe Jaheim Bell has the best chance, Ben Sinnott, but Reverend Span Ford's just not like what people thought he might be. Jared Wiley actually probably has a good chance to make money. But here's the rest of the receivers is Malachi Corley. Oh, this legitimately has a chance to be like Antonio Gibson. Jamari Thrash, very good year at Louisville. Stupid quick. Ricky Pearsall. It's just studded. Johnny Wilson. You got Brendan Rice. Jacob Cowan, and then Anaya Smith, I think, was the most recent player to accept his Senior Bowl invite. But that's it for the video, man. Go ahead, do that YouTube thing. Let me know who are some of the guys you're most excited to see at the Senior Bowl. But as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.